What's up, heathens? Today we are talking with street preacher Joe. Now he's from Cleveland Street Preachers, and he's also the guy that had the whiteboard and trying to mathematically explain why atheism is more violent. If you guys don't know about that, I'm sure I'll have links down below, or you can just search YouTube for it. But today we're going to be talking about reasons as to why we are here, like the earth is here, how our universe forms, evolution, and apparently for some reason he thinks that a man and an ape banged and produced a cat or something. I don't know. Anyways, I hope you enjoy it. If you do, don't forget to hit that like button, and we will see you heathens after the show. Is there a question that you would ideally want to ask me? I know I've been a little less favorable in this conversation, but I kind of get the feeling that you're a little used to that being a street preacher and whatnot. So sorry about that. Sometimes I get a little ahead of myself. But is there any certain question that you would ideally like to ask an atheist, or that you generally ask an atheist?
Okay. Now I get either one of two responses from atheists, so I'm curious to see what you think. Where do we come from?
Well, where do we come from? We are evolved out of a common ancestor with other apes.
Wait, first. Sorry. I guess I should say the universe first, then us. Where did the universe first come from, and then us?
Okay. Well, I mean, the universe. I mean, obviously, the Big Bang is how it all started. We don't know what happened before the Big Bang, but we do know that what happened before the Big Bang is really of no consequence as to what happened after the Big Bang. So the Big Bang started, and then, billions and billions and years later, our universe started to form. Or not universe, sorry, our solar system started to form, started with the sun, and then all the planets kind of collected. Static forces were really important in those very first days of our solar system, until gravity was able to take over and form planets. And yes, we do reside in what's called the Goldilocks zone, but that I know the probability is really low for that actually happening. But if you do you know what pigeonhole theory is?
No. Refresh.
Okay. Basically, if you have a room of 13 people, right, and you ask them all to write down what month they were in, what is the probability that two people would have the same month as a birthday?
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, say that again. I was actually Googling it.
Well, okay, let's say you have 12 people in a room, right? Or sorry, not 12, 13. Say you have 13 people in a room, and you tell them all to write down what month they were in. What's the probability that two people will write down the same month? Or born in. Sorry, what did I say? Oh, born in.
You tell me.
Well, it's 100%. Because you got 13 people, and even if you had one person, that like the first 12 people had different months, the 13th person, you would have to put in another month that was already occupied. So two people would 100% of the time have the same birth month.
Okay.
Pigeonhole theory, where the common example is, let's say you've got a grid of squares, and you have let's say it's a 3x3 grid, and you have 10 pigeons, and you put pigeons in each one of those holes or cages. Then where are you going to put the 10th pigeon? You're going to put it in another cage that already has a pigeon in it. So pigeonhole theory is really key to understanding why the earth resides in the place that it is, because while it's a very low probability, we have a gigantic amount of space and instances for which it to happen. So it's guaranteed 100% gonna happen once, and it definitely has happened elsewise. That's why we have found exoplanets that are also in their Goldilocks zones.
Keep going. I'm following everything you're saying.
Okay, well, this Goldilocks zone has a pretty wide berth. We revolve around the sun in what elliptical orbit, right? Sometimes we're closer to the sun, sometimes we're farther away, just depending. We have the rotation of the earth, which has natural causes to it. We get the moon, which has natural causes to it. Do you want me to keep going on up to evolution?
No, I'm more concerned with how the universe came. You said we don't know where exactly it came from, so you're not saying necessarily that the whole universe came from nothing, right?
Well, I think it's certainly possible. With the way that we know quantum mechanics to work, virtual particles being able to pop in and out of existence, it's totally possible for some kind of reaction to happen in order to make the universe bang.
Well, Newton's third law says that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And the law of cause and effect basically holds that every effect has a cause, every cause has an effect. So basically, those two laws have in common is that every action has a reaction. So if the Big Bang was a reaction, it has to have an action that sparked it.
Well, yeah, and that's what I just specified. Like virtual particles is an example of something popping into existence out of nothing. Of course, they're very small particles, but then again, like there's even Hawking's.
Nothing. We're already here.
Huh?
But it's not from nothing. There's already something here. We're already here. That's what I'm trying to say. You can't get something from nothing.
Okay, I don't know what us being here now has an effect on at the beginning of the universe.
Okay, this is deep. We're examining those particles pop in, right?
Right.
If there was nothing, how do you know those particles could just happen?
Because we have scientific tests that prove them to pop into existence.
But the existence is already something. So they can't just pop into nothing because we're already something.
Did you know that the inners of the nucleus of an atom is actually made up of the empty space? Like that's where a majority of the mass is because of virtual particles popping in and out of existence.
But it's still contained within something. And there was a cause that created that something first.
Well, just because we don't know where virtual particles come from doesn't mean that God had to be the one to fart everything out into the universe.
Well, see, you're already coming up with the assumption that he just happened to fart everything. So like it's just like a fairy tale fable to you. Listen, everything has a purpose, and because things have a purpose, for example, you are technology. Your body is a phenomenal piece of technology, right? I mean, the way the organs are, it is. Okay, maybe not yours in particular.
It's not.
I'm saying in general, the human body is a piece of technology, and in order to have technology, you have to have foreknowledge to be able to understand the meaning of a purpose, to put something together. Physics alone doesn't have that because physics is not a personality. Physics does not have foreknowledge to be able to put everything together properly.
Well, no, physics is a description of certain things as perceived by us. And physics can change. That's what happened with Einstein. There's classical mechanics and then there's quantum mechanics.
Listen, the laws that occur within physics are discovered by us. That's why we label them such laws, right? However, the actual function of those laws, the functioning process, whether we discovered it or not, still is happening, okay? So just because we slap a label on it and are finally understanding what the law means doesn't mean that the law existed beforehand. Doesn't mean that the law didn't exist beforehand. It does. So because it does, who put it there? A law cannot write itself. You have to have a personality with knowledge and understanding to construct the law.
No. Well, I mean, the law is written by men, but you're talking about the natural phenomenon that occurs. You're saying that somebody has to be there to create that natural phenomenon.
Because it keeps happening over and over and over, which means that it is a fact. It's an absolute truth. And physics doesn't have understanding. It's not a personality to be able to put that absolute truth into reality.
Well, no, because physics is just describing our reality. That's all physics is. That's all any discipline is. It's just a description of our reality.
then you can't have a universe pop into essentially from physics or nothing. You have to have a person behind it who has
Well,
wisdom to put it
no,
all
I didn't
together.
say that physics caused the universe to pop into existence. I said that there were natural phenomenon that happened at the beginning of the universe in order for it to pop into existence.
And those have to be by the laws of physics, which essentially resorts to physics.
Well, no. You're separating out the natural phenomenon from the physical descriptions that we give these phenomena that are written by us. So you have these natural phenomena. Forget the physics. You have this natural phenomena that happens, and you're saying that God is the reason why that natural phenomena happens. Correct?
Listen, in order to have a purpose for things happening, you have to have a foreknowledge and wisdom to be able to construct it, to put it together, to make it happen. Physics alone doesn't have that. The purpose and functioning behind these things, that's what I'm calling is physics, okay? Because if you're saying we don't know or it could possibly come from nothing, that in itself, if the universe is expanding, okay, the Big Bang, right? It expanded. There was a starting point, so it's expanding at a rate. That whole rate, that dynamic, that's from physics. That's what I'm trying to say. Physics doesn't have the knowledge to be able to put and construct that together. And then, in order to have space, in order to have, you can't get somewhere from nowhere. You can't have a space that's exploding from the Big Bang, the universe, the cosmos, all these galaxies, whatever, exploding. Where did the space come from for it to explode into?
Where are you asking where space comes from?
No, okay, the Big Bang, right? You said the Big Bang. So
Right.
if that happened, right, it started with just like one little tiny speck or whatever, an atom. Where was the space for everything to explode into? Where did that space come from?
Well, I mean, I don't know, but I don't think that that directly means that a God exists and he created that space.
What I'm trying to say is to everything there's a purpose. So there was a purpose for that space, but physics and nature alone couldn't just determine that. You can't have nature suddenly determine something and a purpose for it without first having knowledge. There has to be an
Well,
understanding to be able to construct something. Only God is all wise to have that understanding.
okay, then tell me something. What is the purpose of 99% of the universe?
That I don't know. Do you know?
No, I
I
don't.
never.
I don't know the purpose because it doesn't have a purpose. There is no purpose to the rest of the universe. There's no purpose to Earth. There's no purpose to anything. It just, why was it so bad or why is it so wrong that it just naturally exists without a purpose?
See, from my standpoint, according to the Bible, I can say we have a purpose. From your standpoint as an atheist, since you don't believe in the Bible, you can't say that there is no purpose. You're just claiming that blindly.
I'm claiming that there's no purpose blindly.
That there's no purpose to the earth. You don't know that.
Well, because we have natural explanations for how it came about. I mean,
Look at
if
your
God did a pretty
body.
good job of hiding any kind of resemblance of purpose, if he did
Look
indeed
at your
do it.
body. Your heart has a purpose as to why it beats constantly, doesn't it? It has a purpose to help keep you
Well,
alive
no,
and
there
functional
are
with the blood.
reasons why my heart beats. There are reasons why.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there's a purpose. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I didn't
And
say that there was a purpose. I said that there are reasons. There's a reason why the heart works the way that it does. There's a reason why our bodies work the way that it does. There's a reason why our bodies don't work in the ways that it's supposed to.
now, how can physics know those reasons? Physics doesn't have knowledge.
I never said that physics has the knowledge or it needs that knowledge in order for it to happen.
It has to. In
Now,
order to
why
have
does
a
it have to?
technology, because the heart has a purpose. It is a supreme, beautiful purpose. In order to work perfectly with the veins and with the blood and with the brain and with all the other organs in the body, they all have a function, a purpose, okay? Or as you call, a reason. Physics
No,
cannot
purpose and reason
construct.
are completely different.
Okay, well, since we're from two different worldviews, in order to have that reason for the heart to beat, physics cannot come up with a reason because it requires foreknowledge to be able to construct something to fulfill the purpose behind that reason.
No, I
Physics
don't.
doesn't have the knowledge to construct because it's not a personality.
Well, no, nobody here is claiming that physics is a personality. I'm saying that it does not need a personality in which to for it to exist.
What I'm saying is extremely deep. That's why it's tough to understand. Everything inside of you, your body's a perfect technology. In order
No, it's
to
not.
have,
If
yes,
it's a
it is.
perfect technology, why does my pancreas not work? Like right now, I'm a diabetic. Why is my pancreas not working? It's
How do
not
you know
like I
it's not?
stabbed myself in the pancreas and fucked it up. It's
Look,
it's my body is genetically predispositioned for my pancreas to stop working, and therefore I need medicine to keep me alive. And the only reason why I have that medicine is because of modern medical science.
when I say that the body's perfect, I'm saying the way that it naturally and theoretically works. I'm not
No.
talking about you in particular, okay?
I
The
also
way
have
that it works.
depression. How is that? How is that a perfect? If it was perfect, then nobody would have depression. If the body was perfect, no organ would fail. Nobody would have depression. Nobody would be missing half of their brain, which there are people out there that have to have half of their brain like amputated.
What
Or
I'm
missing
saying is
limbs or anything like that. Like we wouldn't need that. But kids wouldn't be born with like, AIDS and stuff. Kids, we wouldn't need all of these things. Like if it was a perfect machine, like why does our body store extra energy as fat rather than expelling it some other way?
well, that depends on how you treat your body. Now, I'm talking again, I don't think you understood what I said. I'm talking in theory, okay? I'm not using real life examples. I'm talking in theory because why are there some people who live to be 120 and have really, really good health and don't have any of these health problems? What I'm saying is in theory, the way that it works, the way that it's constructed, the way every organ's placed the way it is and works the way it is for a reason. There is a purpose behind each and every organ being where it is, and there's a purpose, there's a reason behind it. Physics cannot construct that by itself. That requires knowledge and understanding to put that knowledge. That's God. He's a person. Physics is not.
To your last point, I would say that there's nothing to indicate that we need some kind of like intellectual mind or consciousness behind like our bodies or this reality or anything like that. Because I mean, we have natural explanations to explain these things that don't require that kind of knowledge. Like for the human body, we don't need any kind of like creator in which to, fall back on to say that, oh, it had to definitely be specially created.
The way that it works and functions in theory, okay, I'm not talking about people today. I'm talking about in theory. It works and is organized in such a way that it's like a perfect engine. It can't just pop up into existence from nothing. There is a beautiful design about it. You have the heart, the veins, and the blood. They could not have evolved at separate times. They have to be at the same time. You can't have the vein without blood. You can't without blood. You can't have a heart without veins. You can't have the heart without blood. All these things. The three of those alone, you have to have formed together perfectly at the same time in an organism to evolve from, right? That just
Bacteria
can't.
doesn't have blood.
Okay. I'm talking about like there once was an atheist that told me worms, it's possible because worms have partial cardiovascular systems. I don't want to know about the possibilities. I'm talking about a human being right now. The very first human being had a heart, veins, and blood. The very first human being.
You're not wrong.
Okay. That can't just come by physics alone. There has to be a knowledge to put all of that together.
Well, I mean, that's not physics. That's evolution. But I'm guessing you just mean science.
When you say evolution, I'm categorizing it as physics. That's what.
Well, they're distinctly different now. Evolution, biological evolution is distinctly different from like, physics.
The mechanisms behind it are from physical laws, right?
Well, I mean, yes, they are.
That's why I'm categorizing it as that.
Well, physics is a very specific scientific field, and evolution, biological evolution, is a very specific field. They all operate on the natural world. So, I mean, I think that you're more or less going for science rather than just physics.
Well, science can. I'm the reason I choose physics. I choose it is because of the physical laws. That's what supposedly is governing everything, right?
Well, yeah, well, physical laws, yes, but physics does not mean like physics isn't short for physical.
I categorize it as that. So if that's the misunderstanding, fine. I'll say evolution if that's what you want. That's just
Okay.
how I categorize it. But you have to have of knowledge with understanding to create the technology that is your body. It can't just happen on its own from evolution.
Well, no, but we can. I mean, we have
No,
multiple. No, yes, we can. We have multiple examples of it. I mean, we evolved out of a common ancestor with apes. So yes, the first Homo sapien definitely had heart and blood and lungs, but that doesn't mean that we were specially created. I
and then
mean,
if you
that's
go
just
back,
as much as proof of evolution as it is for your special creator.
how long did it take for man to evolve?
A long time.
How
I'm
long did
wanting to
it
say it's
take?
on the order of millions of years.
How long did it take for a woman to evolve?
Well, I mean, they evolved alongside each other. I mean, because they're part of one species that has two genders or
So
sexes,
you'd have to
whatever.
be at the exact same time at the exact same place and have that first woman mate with the first man, right? Because how do you know that the byproduct wouldn't have been sterile?
Are you seriously asking me how do I know two humans mating are not going to produce a sparrow?
See, you're assuming there were two humans.
Well, no, that's what you're proposing. I just recited what you were
I'm saying
proposing.
they have to be. They have to be.
You realize that hominids, they bred with Neanderthals, who are a completely separate species that died out, right? Like we all have Neanderthal DNA in us,
So
some a little
ape,
more than others.
right? Ape did not come from, or Neanderthal did not come from ape. That's what you're saying, right?
No. Neanderthals definitely did come from other apes,
So there's
but
still ape, but there's no Neanderthal.
well, no, Neanderthals existed alongside of Homo sapiens. It's just that we interbred at some point.
The evidence of reality, you're rejecting historic facts. You're believing that everything can possibly come from nothing. And you're believing that you can have your body, which is a perfect technology, formed just by chance without any type of human mind to construct it and put it together.
Well,
And you
no,
call that reality. You call that scientific.
well, I call believing that God had to wave his magic wand and create everything to be pretty lazy logic in general.
It says he has a magic wand.
Well, no, the magic wand is not a literal thing. I was just being facetious.
I know you were. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't know much about God because clearly you haven't really studied this truly in depth enough to be able to understand who he is. I've
I'm
never
going
met.
through the Bible like for the 15th time on my channel right now. I'm going through it in depth. So,
Okay.
I guess I don't know what you're talking about when you say you don't really know the Bible, when I obviously do.
The word. No, you don't, because not one single atheist in my entire life, and I've talked to many, not one single atheist, if I ask them, what do you think about God? Not one has ever told me any good thing about God. All I hear is horrible, horrible things about him. You know why? If an atheist actually told me God is love, guess what? They're no longer atheists. Because then
Well,
they actually,
it's kind of hard to argue that God is love when he like calls for people to be killed, and he
does he do
tortures
it without
people.
reason? Does he do it without reason?
I mean, if you call reason just being displeased.
Like when he flooded the earth, he gave mankind 100 years to repent. That was pretty merciful and just.
Well, you know what? Hitler gave the Jews a few years in order to get out of Germany. I
I don't
guess
know
he's
why.
a good guy.
No. Wait a second. Wait a second. I don't know why she's laughing. Why was she laughing at that point?
Yeah,
It's
because it's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
I think your lack of wisdom is ridiculous.
Now, do you define wisdom as just knowledge of God, or do you mean like actual wisdom?
Perfect thinking.
Perfect thinking? That's setting the
Jesus
bar
has
high.
Jesus set the bar pretty high. He never sinned. He has perfect wisdom.
Well, no, if he had perfect wisdom, he would have known the Sodom and Gomorrah people would have been killed, and he could have just blinked Lot out of there. He also might have specified, "Hey, don't fuck your daughters later."
He did get Lot out of there. He did it his way, not your way. He's God. He could do whatever he wants, however he wants. He knows better than you.
Okay, and that's still telling me not to question and not to ask.
Did I say that?
Anything.
I never said that, did I?
Well, you telling me that, oh, you don't know what God's thinking, you can't dictate what God does and all this other stuff.
You're adding on to my words. I never said that. You're saying that. I didn't say that.
Yeah, but when your ultimate answer is, oh, well, it's God, that prompts me, like, what other questions can I ask after that?
Can you tell Donald Trump what to do, or he's just going to do whatever he wants, whether you care or not?
What does Donald Trump have to do with this?
It's a metaphor.
Is Donald Trump God?
It's a metaphor. No, it's a metaphor. Basically, I'm trying to say that you can't control what somebody else does if they're in a higher authority than you, let alone the greatest authority of the universe, God Almighty.
Okay, well, I'm saying that great authority doesn't exist because he hasn't presented any kind of evidence to suggest that he exists.
He came through Jesus Christ. You just reject the evidence.
Well, no, I understand the evidence. I understand it. I feel like a little better than you do because, like, I recognize how, like, Moses is a fable, and you know, all the stories of Jesus are parables.
John, they're not parables. We went over this before. You can't reject reality and say that you're smart or think that you're smart. You can't reject reality.
You're rejecting it and calling it you're smart.
When did I reject it?
Well, I mean, you're rejecting various realities like evolution. That's been proven.
150 plus years of Darwinian theory and not one single shred of change of kind. I wouldn't say that that's proven. Have you ever read the works of David Berlinski?
Well, no, I haven't read those works, but we actually do have proof of evolution. They're like in the Galapagos. I just said that there's evidence of speciation, and it produced an entirely new species of birds over there.
I'm not talking about a change within a species or from one species. I'm talking of a change of an actual kind. I'm talking when we trace back from dogs, we still get dogs, and when we trace back from bacteria, we still get bacteria. You don't get something else.
No, you're wanting an explanation that includes a dog pooping out a cat and then that cat throwing up a human baby and then that human baby giving birth to a monkey, and that's just not how evolution works.
You're wanting an explanation for why God did what he did in Sodom and Gomorrah.
Huh?
And you're wanting an explanation for why God did what he did in Sodom and Gomorrah.
I don't know how that connects to a cat pooping out a human.
What I'm trying to say is you have your bar of what you want to be able to switch over to Christian, whatever it is, whatever it takes for you. And I have a bar that takes for me to switch over to atheist. And your bar, you have so much criteria that has to be met. And it's probably not going to be met, right? And mine for an atheist will never be met. So we'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Well, I mean, I never thought that I would actually convince you otherwise. I love the argument.
That's fine.
Well, Joe, I really appreciate you, joining me tonight for this talk. I know that you're pretty well versed in talking with atheists, so I really appreciate you joining me, and I hope you have a lovely night.
You too, John. Thank you for having me, and tell that girl who thinks that was ridiculous. Tell her she's ridiculous.
She can hear you.
You better repent.
I think she's going to disagree with you, though.
That's fine. I don't care. All right, man. Have a good night. Thank you again for having me.
All right. Now, thank you for joining me tonight. And everybody watching, his channel will be linked down below. I'm sure he'd love to converse with you.
Oh, yeah. Please do.
All right. See you later, Joe.
Take care, John. Bye-bye.
What's up, heathens? I hope you guys enjoyed this particular episode of this. Like I said, we have a lot more coming, and so I hope that you will stay tuned for those episodes. We talk about the historicity, we talk about historicity of the Bible, of Jesus. We talk about a lot of things. So I hope that you guys will join us for that. If you will, please subscribe to the channel. If you like this content, don't forget to leave a comment down below. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.